Believe it or not, the Chanel Spring 2025 collection is already here, and I've just been testing some of these pieces that I picked up from my local boutique, most notably this new limited edition face and eye palette. We're going to be putting this makeup on my face today in natural light with no filters, and I will be sharing, of course, my completely honest thoughts on whether or not this is worth the very hefty price tag. Now, I didn't get everything from this collection, but I did take tons of swatches in the boutique, and I will be explaining why there are certain things that I didn't purchase. So hopefully that and the swatches will be helpful in case there's anything you're thinking of picking up. So without further ado, let's get into it. And of course, I'm going to kick things off with the new limited edition face and eye palette. This one is called Jeux de Lumieres, which means play of lights. And this is in the oversized format, as you can see by how big this palette is. It is intended to be used on both the cheeks and also the eyes, so you can fit, like a blush or highlighter brush in there in addition to your eyeshadow brushes. This one is a little bit different than some of the oversized ones that they've done in the past, namely because it has 4 shimmer shades in here. Some of the other ones that they've done before have had a mixture of shimmers and satins or kind of like matte shades. This one has 4 incredibly smooth, soft shimmer shades, as you can see by the swatches right here. It's a mixture of soft champagne pink, we have a soft gold, and then we have a little bit of a deeper copper there as well. Very smooth formula, not chunky, not glittery at all, and decently pigmented, I think you can see from the swatches. These colors are very light, I will say that, but they do pop on the skin because they have, that kind of shimmery texture, which is very nice. There is no fragrance that I can detect from this. It is made in Italy. You get 12 grams of product, and it also has an 18-month shelf life. The packaging is exactly the same as all of the other oversized palettes that we've seen from Chanel. Sorry, mine is a little bit dirty because I've been using it, but it's kind of exactly what you would expect. I purchased this for $88 US at my local Chanel boutique, but I will have linked down below, friends, a complete shopping guide that is updated with all the places that you can buy this palette and the rest of the makeup that I'm going to be talking about in this video. It is going to be available online. It is going to be available at a bunch of department stores. It just takes time, for each retailer to get this in stock. So I will keep that updated. Those are affiliate links, full disclosure, so I do earn a small commission when you shop through my links. Oh, also, there is no talc in this palette. I forgot to mention that. And now that we have that out of the way, let me show you how I got this look using this palette, starting off with the eyes. I first went into the light gold shade because I felt like this would be a perfect one and done for every day. Brightens up the eyes. It's a really easy neutral color, and I will say the formula is incredibly smooth. If you're new here, I have very dry skin. I have very delicate, dry, eczema-prone eyelids, so I really don't want anything scratchy or chunky or glittery on my eyelid, and this formula is really smooth, beautifully pigmented. I love the shine that I get from this, but it's not too metallic. It definitely still retains a little bit of that, like Chanel softness. The next shade that I went into is the lightest shade in the palette, which is that pale pearly pink. I like to use this one as a highlight shade, so I applied that to the inner corner of the eye, and I also really like to apply this to the lower lash line just to kind of brighten and lighten up the entire look. Next up, I went into the soft rose, and I used this more so on the outer half of the eyelid. It has enough pigment that it does add a little bit of depth to my eye look, especially because I am quite fair. I think that if you have a deeper skin tone, this is going to look more like something that you would use all over the lid. I don't know how much depth you're going to get from this, but I think it looks really beautiful, really soft, adds a little bit of, rosy character to the look. And then finally, I went into the deepest shade in this palette, which is this soft copper. This one is quite warmer than the rest of the shades in the palette, and it is, like I said, the deepest shade. So I applied this to the crease to once again just add like a little bit more definition, kind of warm up the look. This half of the palette is a little bit more warm and golden, and then this half of the palette is a little bit like cooler and rosier. But if you go in with that shade on the eyes, I do think it gives it an overall kind of more golden, warm tone type of look. So just keep that in mind. I applied some mascara, and this is the final eye look. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about how these apply to the eyes. All of the formulas of these 4 shades, like I said before, are the same. Like there's really nothing different about them. There's no topper, there's no matte, there's nothing like that. So this is really all you have to work with is 4 shimmer shades. I think if you are fair like me, these 2 shades, although they are shimmery, I still think that they look really nice in the crease. They don't highlight any of, the dryness on my eyelids. So I was pretty happy with this look. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Oh, and if you are enjoying this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It really helps me out. And if you are new here, maybe consider subscribing to my channel. My name is Sophia, and I upload multiple videos each week just like this one, focusing on everyday makeup and accessible luxury. So if that is your jam, hit that subscribe button to join our fam. We would love love to have you. And after you are finished watching this video, I have an entire playlist of Chanel beauty videos, so I will link that playlist down below in case you want to check out another one. So I kind of figured that these would be easy enough to use on the eyes. What I was really curious about is how these would look like on my cheeks, because like I've said a million times, this formula is quite shimmery and there really isn't any shade in here that stands out to me as a true blush shade. Maybe luminizer, maybe highlighter. I was curious if maybe this shade or this shade could be used as a glowy blush. I was curious how it would show up on my skin. Would I look like the Tin Man? Would I look like Edward Cullen? We are going to find out. I was pleasantly surprised with this rose shade. I used just a traditional blush brush. I buffed it into the cheeks and it actually does show up as a blush. And I feel like this formula, it's not so shimmery and it's not glittery at all, so you can use it as a glowy blush. I will say though, however, it's a very, very light shade. It doesn't give that much pigment. I'm quite fair, so I feel like it looks pretty beautiful on my cheeks. Comment down below and let me know what you think. But I think if you have a deeper skin tone, this is gonna be more of like a blush topper. And indeed, I think I will be probably using this a little bit more as a blush topper because it is so light. Sometimes I like a little bit more of a flush, so you can use it as a glowy blush if you have a fair skin tone, but it's going to be very light. I next went into the deepest shade in the palette. This is that like more warm tone coppery shade. I was very skeptical about this one. I thought this was gonna look way too harsh against my fair skin tone. But I will say, you know, I used the same technique that I used for the rose shade and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it looked a lot more peachy on my cheeks, especially once I buffed it out on top of my bronzer. Looked a little bit more like a glowy peachy blush. It's not my favorite. I do also think that I'm going to be using this more so as a blush topper. I have other luminizers just like this from Chanel, from Dior, from Charlotte Tilbury that I absolutely love, and I usually put like a neutral blush on top of my bronzer, and then I go in very light-handed with this and I just kind of buff over everything. So I have things like this in my collection that I know I love and use, and I know that's probably how I'm going to be using it. But I just want to show you what it looks like when I go, you know, in with a heavy hand. I use quite a bit just with this shade. It looks fine, but it's not my favorite. I definitely like the pink shade a lot more than this one as just a blush on its own. And then the two lighter shades are sort of exactly what you would expect from Chanel. They are smooth, pearly, light, shimmering luminizer colors. These are the kinds of things that I would use just on the tops of my cheekbones like I do with all of my other highlighters. The pink one in particular is really beautiful on fair skin. It's pearly, it's a little bit pinky. It's actually pretty similar to the Chanel Camellia highlighter that I have right here. This one was limited edition, and so many people were bummed that they couldn't get this. It is probably one of my favorite Chanel makeup products ever, and I'm so sad this isn't a part of the permanent collection. It's pretty similar to this in formula. I would say almost exactly the same in formula. It's just this one is a little bit lighter. You can see from the comparison right here. So if you've always wanted this, I actually think that this one is a really good alternative. Of course, if you like the other shades that are in the palette. And then this more golden tone one is very, very similar. It's just a little bit darker and a little bit more golden. They are both so, so beautiful. I don't know which one I like better, but yeah, they both have a beautiful formula, kind of what you would expect, and really good for fair skin tones. In addition to the Chanel Rêve de Camellia highlighter, I also think a lot of the shades in this palette are very similar to these from the holiday collection. What was it? I think this was from maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Gosh, how time flies. These were the ones that came with like the big moon embossing. There is the rose gold, and then this one is the deeper gold. This one is very similar to the deepest shade in this new palette, and then this one is pretty similar to this shade, or it's almost like a combination of those two bottom shades, and the formula is very, very similar. These and the Rêve de Camellia luminizer are my favorite luminizers from Chanel. These have the best formula, and I feel like this palette does a good job of replicating everything that I like about these. And I just want to warn you guys that a lot of the shades are same but different. So, you know, if you're thinking about spending the $88, I just wanted to point that out so maybe you can kind of, you know, save yourself the money. So overall, first impressions, I really like this palette. Like I've said a million times, I love the formula. It is so smooth, it is so brightening. That being said, these are the shades that I reach for all the time in my everyday makeup routine. A lot of you know I like the soft pinks, I like these pearly shimmering whites, I like these warm tone golds. These are my colors, and that is why this would be worth the $88 for me. I mean, I spent my own money and I'm not regretting it at this point in time. I think that if there's at least even one shade in this palette that you don't think you're going to use, at least on your eyes or on your cheeks, I probably would skip it because it's just too expensive to not use all of the shades. And you know, Chanel are doing more of these oversized palettes, so if you don't like this one, there's probably gonna be another one that is launched later this year or next year that's going to suit your preferences a little bit more. I really hate seeing these larger palettes collect dust in my makeup collection because not all of them have been my absolute favorites. I do think it was a missed opportunity to not mix in, you know, like a more matte or satin shade in this palette. That would be my one complaint about this. Like, all the shades are beautiful and I will use them, but it would be better for me if they had included something that is more of like a true blush shade. For example, in this palette, this is one of the first ones that they launched. This one is called Tendresse. They have these three, like, I don't know what you would call them. I guess they're satins, and then you have one shimmer, which is the same formula as these right here. I would have liked more of a balance, you know, maybe like 2 mattes and 2 shimmers, right? Wouldn't that have been better? I don't know why they didn't do that. Or something they could have done is they could have done something like this blush right here. This was incredibly popular. This was spring 2 years ago. I'm losing track of time, guys. This is something they could have done. This is a really beautiful shimmering blush, but the color is deeper. It looks more like a blush when it goes on the cheeks. I would have loved for them to make maybe the pink shade a little bit darker and rosier. It doesn't even have to be like super vibrant, just a little bit darker so it shows up better as a blush on my skin tone. And for those of you who are a little bit tanner than me, I think if you have a deeper skin tone, because these are shimmery, they're gonna pop a little bit more on your skin tone, but you're not really gonna be able to use any of these as blush. Comment down below and let me know if you agree. I would love to hear your feedback. So yeah, overall, I think it's beautiful. I don't think it's groundbreaking. As you saw, I was able to like semi-dupe this palette with some of the other Chanel things that I have in my collection, but I do really like it. And a lot of you out there, you don't have, you know, a huge Chanel collection like I do, and you might not have products like this, and maybe you've been waiting for Chanel to launch something that is, you know, a really nice, smooth, shimmery formula like this, because a lot of the ones that they've come out with lately have been so glittery and just not really to my taste. So I really like it. I think it's beautiful. You saw for yourself in the natural light, so it's up to you now to decide whether or not this is going to be worth the $88. But overall, I am very pleased with this. Now, what I did not get from this collection are any of the 4 limited edition Ombre Essential shadows. They look just like this. This is one from the permanent line. This is 222 Jade Facette, one of my favorites. They have 4 limited edition shades in this collection. I'm going to show you swatches and photos here so you can see what they look like. I decided to pick up none of these because I wasn't really intrigued by any of the colors, to be perfectly honest with you. The formulas seemed really nice. I swatched all of them. I played around with all of them in the boutique. They seemed really smooth, a little bit creamy, not chunky at all. Like, they all had a really nice formula, but the peachy one, which was my favorite, is very similar to this shade in the oversized palette. So if you pick up this palette, I would say you probably can save your money and not get the peachy shade. It's very similar in tone. Maybe this is the one shade that you like in this palette, maybe just buy the single. So on the flip side, you could also do that. But that's why I skipped on that. There's also a very beautiful emerald shade in this collection. However, as I just showed you, I already have the Jade Facette, which is a little bit of like a lighter and brighter version of that one, and I kind of prefer this tone. There's nothing wrong with that green. It's really beautiful, and in fact, if I didn't have this one, I probably would have gotten that one. I don't want to collect all these single shadows. It's like at some point, I don't use a lot of them because there's just too many of them to choose from, so I'd rather just use the ones that I have and I know I already like. So I decided to just stick with this one. There's also a lilac one that is in the collection. There have been so many lilac eyeshadows, lilac blushes, lilac highlighters that have been launched in the past year because it's a very trendy color, and we have more coming for spring 2025 from Dior and a lot of other brands. So I decided to skip that one as well. I already have the Lilas Poudre from the permanent line. And then finally, they had like a soft matte brown. I just don't see the point. I just don't see the point in buying a soft matte brown. You seriously can just go in, you know, with like your bronzer or something. So I didn't really think that buying that one was worth it. So at the end of the day, today. I just didn't get any of them, but hopefully those swatches are helpful. Comment down below and let me know if you're intrigued by any of these. Like I said, the formula is really nice. It's just that none of them were really worth it to me. What I did get from this collection, however, are 2 of the Rouge Coco balms. They have several limited edition shades and they're all in like really beautiful, bright, springy colors, just a really beautiful array. And if you're not familiar with this formula, this is the ultra moisturizing, slightly shiny, like they're not super high gloss, but slightly shiny tinted lip balm from Chanel. It's a really beautiful formula. And one thing that I will mention, I'll put up the shades here so you can see what they look like. I'll label them just in case you're interested in any of these. What I will warn you, and I know a lot of you already know this, is that these are very sheer. So depending on the tone of your lips, these might look a little bit different. For example, once again, we have a lilac shade in there. That's probably gonna look just like rose on most of us. It's not gonna look super true to color. Also, there is that bright, cool toned pink. Both me and my sales associate agreed that's probably gonna be the one that sells the best. I tried on this shade in the boutique, and as many of you know, I have naturally like pretty pigmented lips. In fact, my sales associate asked me if I wanted to wipe off my lipstick before trying it on. And it was early in the morning and I was not wearing anything on my lips. So needless to say, when I put this on, it didn't really look like that cool tone pink. It kind of just looked like, I don't know, like a basic rose. When my sales associate tried that shade, because she has lighter lips, it looked completely different. It looked a lot more like what you see in the swatch. So just a little bit of a warning there, but I did get 2. I did get 2 to show you, and I got the 2 shades on opposite sides of the spectrum. I got the lightest shade and the deepest shade. The first one is actually the one that I'm wearing on my lips right now. This one is called Honey Bliss, and this is a beautiful everyday nude with a little bit of gold sparkle. I think you can tell right there. It's not like anything, you know, it's not a metallic lip. It's just like a little bit of gold sparkle. And this is the only one in the collection I recall that has a little bit of sparkle. The rest of them are just kind of like a smooth, glossy color, if that makes sense. The other one that I picked up is the red one. This one is called Cherry Burst. I love the name. And this is a really easy, natural, low maintenance red lip for me. A lot of you know I love a red lip, but also I'm pretty busy. I don't have a lot of time to get ready in the morning, even if I'm getting ready to film. And so I like things that are quick and easy. And this is the kind of red lip where you don't need a lip liner. You don't even need a mirror for it. You can really just put it on like chapstick and it looks like you made an effort. Overall, I think these are beautiful. I think they came out with some really nice shades, but these are also pretty expensive. So I don't think I would run out and pick out any of these unless you really think that one of these shades is gonna be unique to your collection. To be perfectly truthful with you, the Honey Bliss is so dupeable with a lot of things that I already have from, you know, YSL and other brands. I picked this one up just because I felt like this was gonna be one of the more popular ones. Otherwise, I probably would not have purchased it. And to my delight, they also have 4 new eyeliner shades in this collection, and I decided to pick up 2 of them. These are the Stilo Yo waterproof eyeliners, and I love these. I have a lot of these. I pretty much collect these because they are some of my favorite eyeliners ever, and they always come out with the most elegant, sophisticated shades. They are very, very long wearing, so if you have an issue with your eyeliner transferring, smudging, if you have oily eyelids, I highly recommend checking these out. They really stay in place all day. So I decided to get 2 of the ones from this collection. I'll show you first the swatches of all 4 of them. There was a kind of like reddish color in this collection. I'm blanking on the name, but I'll list them up here. I didn't like that one at all. I don't know what they're thinking with that color. That's the kind of color that would make me look sick. Comment down below and let me know what you think. I really want to know what you have to say about this because that's not it. That's not it for me. I don't want that shade, so I didn't pick that one up. There's also a kind of purplish brown, but it looked kind of basic to me. It looked like most other browns that I have in my collection. That would be a good one if you've never tried these before and you just want something like very standard, very neutral. The 2 that I picked up are a little bit more unique. The first one right here is called Mauve Intense, and this is a really beautiful, I mean, it's exactly what it says. It's an intense mauve. It's not like a dark royal purple. It's gonna be lighter than the Cassis shade, for example, and there's no shimmer to this. It is a matte. I will show you real quick a comparison up against the new Victoria Beckham eyeliner. This one is called, what is this one called? Orchid. This one is called Orchid. This one is a different tone. It's also shimmery. It's also a completely different formula. This is going to be more like a smudgy type of formula, very creamy. If you want something more long wearing, I would go with the Chanel. You can see right here, it gives like a really beautiful, you know, not too heavy look to the eye. Does a beautiful job of defining the lashes. And it's kind of like a pop of color, but it's not too much. I really like it. I love purple eyeliner in general, and I don't have a shade like this in my collection yet. The other one, which I think is going to be the most popular because it is, I guess you could say, the most unique, is Vert Lagon. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that okay. And this is a beautiful shimmering green. There's also like a little bit of blue in it as well. Like it looks slightly turquoise, I think. This just looked like the most stunning pop of color. I love the way that this looks on the eyes. This would be perfect to pair with the oversized face and eye palette. Maybe go in with like the light gold and then this eyeliner. Ooh, I'm gonna have to do that look for you all at some point. This is different from the emerald shade that they have in the line. That one's a little bit darker and more sparkly. It's also quite different from the khaki metal liner. I'll just put up the comparisons here so that you can see it. And I thought this one was the most beautiful, the most festive, the most unique, and I thought it was fun that they did a shade like this for spring as well. Leave me a comment down below. I would love to know what you think of this collection. Do you think you're gonna pick anything up, or is this a pass for you? If you like this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, and better yet, go watch another video. Up next, we have the 5 best and 5 worst from Dior and my top 5 luxury foundations. And with that, friends, I hope that you see some beauty in your day, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.